We're moving on, and we're looking at women in finance. We ask, how can women in the financial sector, including the public sector and non-governmental organizations, overcome the challenges and the hurdles that they face? How can they rise through the ranks and lead from the front while taking their organizations and departments to greater heights? To talk about these issues, we're joined in the studio by Totsie Memela-Khambula, who is the CEO of Eduloan, and she's a committee member for the Standing Committee for the Revision of the Bank Act with the South African Reserve Bank. Good evening to you, ma'am, and thank you so much for coming through. Welcome onto the talk shop.
Thank you very much for inviting us, and good evening, and good evening to the listeners.
When we're talking about women in the financial sector and the challenges and the hurdles they face, are they unique from women in other sectors?
I think broadly speaking, they are not necessarily unique. It's just that the financial services sector continues to be dominated by males. So in that regard, you could say we still do have challenges, but they're not necessarily unique.
When we're talking about this domination, have we not seen efforts to try and not only reverse it, but to try and get some kind of gender parity going in the financial sector?
I think there's a lot of work that's been taking place in the past few years, particularly since the coming in of the Financial Services Charter, but still it continues to be quite a huge challenge. I mean, when you look at it, particularly when you look at the big banks in terms of how many, not only in South Africa but globally, are actually run and managed and led by women, they're still a few and apart.
How do you respond, Sis Totsie, to the comment that constantly comes up that women still need training, women still need to be prepared for these roles, and that's why you find so many men that are willing to mentor women, that are willing to guide and advise women to prepare them for these roles?
I would agree with the issue of training, but it doesn't mean that training is required by us only because we're women. I think training is required by all young people, by all people that are growing within any particular institution, but not only women. But what one has seen as an exciting phenomenon is that there's more and more people that are willing and able to actually mentor and coach and guide young women, whether they are men or women, because it's not only women that want to provide support to other women. Even men over the past few years have been willing and coming on board to support young men and women for them to grow within different levels in institutions.
And what's your take on some of the frustrations that have been raised by both men and both women, that is, in the financial sector, and young people in the financial sector, that they feel like they're forever in training, they feel like they're forever being mentored, but they're being mentored for what they're not sure, and they're not being allowed to assume these roles of responsibility?
I think the key is for us as leaders to take a chance on young people and not think that because they are young they cannot deliver, because the only way you can know how to do something is by actually doing it. And taking a chance is what we have a responsibility to do. And rather coaching and guiding from behind, rather than thinking that you have to be ready 100%, because the only way you can learn is by making your own mistakes. Mm-hmm. So it is our responsibility to allow people not to be trained in perpetuity. But I think there's been quite a huge improvement. I mean, when one looks at one's experience in the past few years. I remember the first time I was made a manager in an institution. It was the olden days when I was working for the PAM, and the person that actually gave me the opportunity was a white male. And I said to him, I'm resigning because I'm bored. And he said, okay, if you're bored, then I'll give you your boss's job. I panicked, and I thought, how can he do this? I don't think I'm ready for this. I mean, I knew I was bored, but I didn't think I was ready for that job. But the advantage was that I then surrounded myself with other people that were tried and tested in the field to provide support in terms of coaching and guiding me in terms of how to learn. But I was scared. I must say I was scared. I was very fortunate in that regard.
We're talking about women in the financial sector, and we are taking your calls on 0891 104 207, 0891 104 207, or SMS 34701. SMS number is 34701, and SMSs are charged at R2. Maybe you are a woman in the financial sector and you want to share your experience with us. You want to share your rise to the top with us, or even the hurdles and barricades that you are facing in your rise to the top. 0891 104 207. One of the issues that you mentioned earlier on was that the training, the mentoring by a white male, so to speak, all those issues coming into play. When we're talking about mentoring, what exactly do we mean, and what exactly should we be looking for in mentors, and what exactly should mentors be looking for in mentees? Because it comes across very much as the mentor is doing the mentee a favor, and the mentor cannot choose who they will mentor. Or even the mentee cannot choose who will mentor them. It all comes across as though, okay, now there's this buzzword, mentor and mentees, and you must just find your space in all this.
It's actually the person that both people actually learn in the process. What I found in instances where I was mentored was that, what I find also in instances when I'm mentoring other young people is that I also learn. I mean, I don't know what young people are looking for. I don't understand much about the social media. And as a chief passion officer, as I call myself, I need to know more because my customers are young people. So I learn that from young people in terms of what the expectations are by students that are university students that are customers. But at the same time, I may bring the wisdom that the young person may not be exposed to. So the relationship is actually a two-way relationship. And I found that in many instances, people think because you are a mentor, you know it all. And people think because you're a mentor, you need to open all the doors. There's different types of mentors. There may be a mentor that's going to open the door for you in the industry because you're in that particular industry. There may be a mentor that can actually help you in a given institution so that when they sit in the boardroom, they can say, oh, do you know about so-and-so, which would be a sponsor within a given organization. Mm-hmm. But other than that, somebody may be referring you to information that you may find because you just don't know how to find that information. And others may be a mentor that just opens doors for you because you just don't know where to start. But it's definitely a two-way relationship. It's not one way. We also learn a lot from people that we mentor, and it's always a very fulfilling relationship, particularly if you click, because sometimes the relationship just doesn't work. And it's not because the other one doesn't want to, but because just like sometimes we meet people that we don't particularly like. And it always helps if you as an individual that's looking for mentors actually look for people that, one, you respect, but also people that not only that you hold in high regard, but people that will tell you the truth and give you an objective view on what is actually going on. So that becomes of critical importance.
And for you as Totsie, what is more important, you choosing who you will mentor, or the mentee approaching you to say, please, would you be my mentor?
I think in many instances I found people approaching me to say, can you please help me in this regard? And you find that sometimes people think people would say no. Mm-hmm. We find it difficult to just pick up the phone and say, and just ask. And actually, in many instances, when you ask, people are willing and able to provide the support. It doesn't matter how much time people have to spend with you, because whether it's you taking the phone call and saying, can you give me advice on this, that's part of mentoring. It doesn't mean that you need to spend hours and hours together, and sometimes you can still communicate using the social media, or also even using just SMS or whatever way you can use to continue to guide people. So it's very, very fulfilling.
Chief Passion Officer? What is that?
I think as what is normally referred to as CEOs, you are not just an executive. If you're not going to ignite passion amongst your people, and let them give you feedback in terms of what needs to be done, but also people that are willing to actually follow your vision, then you shouldn't be there. So the passion has to be there. Not only the purpose, but also the passion.
Chief Passion Officer. I like this. I can see a lot of letterheads changing as CEOs recognize the value of passion. Earlier on, you spoke about how, your mentor then said, okay, I'm going to give you your boss's job. And you were thinking, no, it's too soon. I'm not going to be able to be ready. Women rising to the occasion is an issue that comes up over and over again. Women being criticized for not rising to the occasion when they're called upon to rise. We say, we become very self-deprecating and say things like, no, I'm not ready. No, it's too soon. No, but so-and-so is better than me. How do we deal with that particular challenge?
I think the challenge with us is that we don't usually fake it. We're not very good at faking it, especially when it comes to delivery. We want to be 100% ready. Nobody ever is 100% ready, because even if you come to any new role, when you get there, even when I first got the job as the CEO, I couldn't claim to be 100% competent because my previous role was that of a managing director, and I had a CEO that was reporting to. So I had to take time to learn the new environment that I was getting into. So it really doesn't matter. But we do tend to be scared sometimes and think, I'm not ready. You can never be 100% ready. As long as in every role you are in, you make sure that you start preparing yourself for the next role that you want to be in, you don't have to be 100% ready.
But how do we put ourselves out there? How do we start networking, marketing ourselves in the same way that we've seen captains of industry do? There seems to be a reticence coming from us as women, especially in business, especially in areas like the financial sector that are still very much male-dominated, to say, no, let me take the back seat. Let me stay in the background. I don't want to shine too brightly.
Actually, you should be shining. It doesn't matter even if you don't know enough, because by shining and putting yourself forward, the one other great way to actually learn is to offer support. Mm-hmm. The one thing that we don't do is not say, can I help? Because even if you do have a mentor, if your mentor is going, I remember Wendy Lucas-Boone was my mentor when she, for many, many years, and when she'd be going to do presentations, I'd say, can I please do the research for you? That is part of learning, because once you are helping your mentor and your coach to do the work that they should not be having time to do really, because research may be mundane work because they've got other big responsibility. So in many instances, we should actually offer to help. That's how we learn. And also the other most important thing is to actually, when you have a mentor, is to shadow people, because only then do you get exposed. I remember when I was in Postbank, we used to take our young people that were working in product development and would invite them to come to the ALCO meeting so that they can understand what actually happens, because these things called boards can be such a huge enigma. And there's nothing wrong in inviting young people to just sit at the back and watch what actually happens. Shadowing is one other best way for people to actually get exposed to what actually happens. Recently, where I am, we've just taken a young woman who's not quite ready to be a company secretary, but she's shadowing the chief governance officer, and she comes to the meetings, and she now knows that it's not like it's a big deal. She's still a bit scared because she's still new, but it's the only way to learn, to just put yourself out there, sometimes to offer and say, can I help?
This is, I guess, all part and parcel of paying your dues in whichever industry or sector that you want to excel in. But how then do we deal with the perception out there that young people just want to be given these roles of responsibility straight out of varsity because they have the qualifications? And how true is this? In your experience, in your decades in the financial sector now, with Eduloan, and you sit on various boards, is this really true? Are young people thinking, gimme, gimme, gimme?